You say you hate violence. You say you're tired of the noise, the cruelty, the headlines that make your stomach drop. You say the world is too dark, and yet here you are. You clicked the crime story before you clicked anything else. You finished the true crime episode at 2 a.m. even though you had work at 7. You watched the footage of the public breakdown twice. You slowed down on the highway even though you told yourself you didn't want to see. You scrolled past the birthday announcement, but you stopped at the fight. You always stop at the fight. And then, the part you don't say out loud, something in you was glad you did. Not horrified, not simply curious, something closer to alive.
I'm not accusing you, I'm describing you, because I need you to sit with something uncomfortable tonight. Not about society, not about algorithms, not about the media machine, about the specific architecture of your attention, about what you choose when no one is watching and the choice is entirely yours. And about the question that follows you afterward. Why does this excite me? What does that make me? That question has an answer, and it's not the one you're afraid of.
Consider what your brain actually is. Not what you'd like it to be, a rational, civilized instrument that weighs evidence and chooses wisely. Consider what it actually is, a survival machine that spent hundreds of thousands of years in environments where missing a threat meant death, where the person who looked away from the shadow at the edge of the firelight didn't make it to morning. Your brain learned one rule above everything else. Danger is more important than comfort. Threat is more important than pleasure. The irregular, the violent, the collapsing, these aren't distractions from real life. They are, to your nervous system, the most real things in the world. So when you scroll and you find chaos, your brain doesn't recoil first. It leans in, it catalogs, it measures, it asks, how close is this? Could this be me? What would I do?
You're not watching a stranger's breakdown for entertainment. You're running a simulation, gathering data the way it has always been gathered, through the careful study of what goes wrong and why. Darkness is information, and information means control, and control means survival. This is where most people stop. They take the evolutionary explanation, nod, feel absolved. It's just biology, clean, comfortable, finished. But the biology is only the basement, and something else lives upstairs. Watch yourself the next time it happens. Not abstractly, concretely. You're watching a true crime documentary. The details are specific. The violence is real. You know you should turn it off. You don't. You finish the episode, then you start the next one. Notice the sequence. First, the spike. Something in your chest tightens. Your attention locks in. You become very awake. Then, the settling. A warmth, low and quiet. And then, if you're honest, something else, something you don't name, a pull that isn't horror and isn't compassion, something sharper, a flicker of power in watching powerlessness, a strange private clarity that comes with proximity to the worst things humans do. And underneath that, for some, a fantasy, not of committing anything, but of understanding it, of being close enough to the edge to see what's down there. This feeling produces one thing immediately: shame.
What is wrong with me? Normal people don't feel this. This makes me... And that shame is exactly why the feeling doesn't go away. Carl Jung spent decades mapping what lives in that shame. He called it the shadow. Everything you've decided you're not. The aggression you've suppressed, the cruelty you've been taught to disown, the envy you've learned to perform as concern, the desire for dominance that you've dressed up as ambition. But Jung also described another figure, the trickster, the part of the psyche that refuses to follow the rules, that crosses lines for the pleasure of crossing them,
that is drawn to the forbidden specifically because it's forbidden, that laughs at the carefully constructed self-image you present to the world. The Trickster is why you watched 3 more episodes after you said you were going to sleep. The Trickster is why horror films exist, why true crime has become the most consumed genre on the planet, why people who call themselves gentle and empathetic fill their evenings with murder reconstructions. We built an entire cultural industry on feeding what we publicly deny wanting, and it's enormous.
Millions of people, the same ritual, evening, headphones, a story about something terrible that happened to someone real. They're not monsters. They're office workers, parents, teachers, and they're glued to it. The detail about the basement, the photograph from the trial, the interview with the detective who says he'll never forget what he saw. Why? Because the true crime listener isn't fantasizing about committing violence. They're rehearsing survival. They're running the simulation. What would I do? How would I escape? How would I recognize the threat before it became the threat? They're satisfying the evolutionary hunger for danger data from the complete safety of their couch.
But there's more. The same listener who says, "I just find it interesting," experiences something when the perpetrator is described. A complex response. Fear, yes, but also recognition. The uncomfortable awareness that the thing described, the need for control, the desire for power, the capacity for cruelty, isn't entirely alien. Not foreign, familiar, just never acted on. And that recognition, that is what the shame is actually about. Not, "I'm a bad person," but "there is something in me that understands this, and I didn't choose that."
Here's where it becomes serious. You think you're the observer, sitting outside this, watching chaos from a safe distance. But the shadow doesn't announce itself. It works indirectly, through the patterns you don't examine, through the moral outrage that feels righteous and clean, but that keeps pulling you back with the same force as the uglier emotions. Notice who you hate loudest, not just disagree with, truly despise, the ones who make you personally, viscerally offended. Now ask yourself what quality they embody that you've spent your life suppressing. Not always, but more often than you'd like, the monster you're pointing at is holding up a mirror. This is Jung's most uncomfortable observation. You project what you won't own, and the more you project, the stronger it gets, because you're feeding it the one thing that makes the shadow grow: denial.
The cycle tightens, the feed learns, the room gets smaller, and somewhere the line between observing and being driven quietly disappears. You think you're watching, it's watching you. You are not detached, you are involved. The outrage is not neutral, it's appetite. The fascination is not passive, it's hunger. And hunger, fed without awareness, does not stay in the basement. It leaks, as cruelty disguised as honesty, as the comment you typed and deleted, and then typed again, as the quiet satisfaction when someone you disliked fell exactly as far as you privately thought they deserved. You didn't act out, but something moved through you, and you called it justice.
Here's what integration actually looks like. Not therapy, not confession, not a cleanse. It looks like this. You watch the footage. You notice the spike. You don't scroll away and pretend it didn't happen. You say, without performance, without sharing it, "I felt that. I know what that was. That was the part of me that wants power. That was the part of me that survived." And you let it be information instead of shame. Because the moment you see it clearly, it stops running the show from behind the curtain. The energy doesn't vanish. It never vanishes. The aggression, the competitive hunger, the fascination with the edge, these are in the architecture.
But seen, named, acknowledged, they become something you can direct. They become the creative obsession that doesn't let you sleep until the work is done. They become the passion that other people can't explain but can feel. They become the leadership that doesn't need to perform confidence because it comes from having looked at something real in itself and not flinched. They become the discipline that holds without apology. Unconscious darkness is wildfire. Conscious darkness is fuel. The difference is not what you feel. The difference is whether you're driving or being driven.
You are not excited by darkness because something is broken in you. You are excited because you were built to survive, because your brain runs simulations, because somewhere in you lives everything humanity has ever been, including the parts that didn't make it into the self-portrait you show the world. The real danger was never that you look at chaos. The danger is the performance of not looking. The curated feed of calm that sits on top of 3 hours of true crime. The righteous disgust that tastes exactly like the thing it claims to oppose.
The trickster in you doesn't disappear when you pretend it's not there. It just finds another door. So when you close this, when the screen goes dark and you're alone with your phone and the world is still burning somewhere and the feed is still waiting, you have a choice. You can scroll to feed something you refuse to name, or you can pause. Feel what you actually feel. Let that be information, and ask what it's trying to tell you about the energy you've been keeping in that locked room. The shadow doesn't want to destroy you. It wants to be used. But the line between using it and being used by it is thin. Very thin.